Kulick, welcome to Sitting in a Bar in Adelaide, mate. It is an absolute pleasure to have the opportunity to have a chat to you. And the great news is you're heading to see your fans in Australia, and I'm sure you know, mate, there is lots and lots of Bruce Kulick fans in Australia.
It's very, very, very flattering. I mean, I live so far away, and I have so many good friends in Australia. I get really amazing emails, too, from everybody there, so it does feel great.
And I'm not sure if people will remember, the first time we saw you in Australia was you and your brother Bob were toured with Meatloaf, did the Bat Out of Hell tour. Was that 78?
Yeah, it was around 78. The press in Australia wound up calling it the Fat Out of Hell, is what they called it. So, which was a great title, and he passed out and needed oxygen, and it was a good run, actually. And that was my first time in Australia, and I really, really was impressed with just the people and the lifestyle. It always felt very, a little bit of Europe and a little bit of America, and I felt very much at home.
Well, one of my favourite things from that album is the great guitar work that Todd Rundgren did on that. Was that fun to play those licks from the album?
Absolutely, and my brother didn't really want to learn all the Todd Rundgren stuff, so it was perfect for me to kind of take them apart and be faithful enough to them, and then he got to jam a little bit with the dual guitars. But it's interesting you bring up Meatloaf, because I'm not sure the exact date in Australia, but I know it's in November that there's a Meatloaf Live product coming out on DVD that's the original band, meaning the tour from back then. It was actually filmed in Germany, but my brother brought it over a couple of nights ago. He had an advanced copy, and it was really such a time warp for me to go back and watch that, and go back all those years. So it's essentially the same show that would have been in Australia,
Fantastic. Oh, they'll look forward to that. Who was the girl because Ellen Foley didn't tour that, who was the girl that did her part?
Right, so Carla DeVito.
That's right,
that's right. And she did a great job. She was like Betty Boop on stage with Meatloaf. It was very, very, she did a very, very good job.
Fantastic. And that must have been a lot of fun going out on tour with Bob.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first time I always respected my brother Bob. I mean, he was a little older than me, and he kind of got out there before me, and he kind of brought me in for the Meatloaf gig, because they were looking for two guitar players, but they weren't really sure. And my brother was kind of like, hey, if you want me, and Bob already had a resume, I still was very, very kind of green about everything, and he said, you got to take both of us. So I'll never forget that he stuck up for me, and it really did work. I mean, we had a certain chemistry working together, and then, like I said, Bob didn't really want to learn the Todd Rundgren part, so I struggled through all that, but great band, and I'm still in touch with some of the guys, so it's kind of weird so many years on, but I'll never forget Australia was like one of the big, we really conquered Australia and sold out arenas, and that was really exciting.
Indeed. I remember at the time it was a huge tour. So what was it like growing up in the Kulick household with both you guys? Were you competitive learning to play, or did you share licks with each other all the time and come home and say, I've learned this, have a listen to this sort of thing all the time?
There was a little bit of that in a way. I mean, obviously having my brother kind of be exposed to guitar and music before me, he became, a source of information, and that was very valuable to me. But then I remember the only time it got weird was, I got a little more into some of the progressive fusion bands like King Crimson and Yes, more so than Bob. He liked them, but not as much as me. And then I would kind of want to study some of that stuff, and then we'd argue about no, that's not the right chord, no, that's not the riff. You know what I mean? It was kind of a little weird like that for a while. But we've always had each other's back, and it was very interesting though. Let's face it, that time, growing up in the 60s and the 70s, music was just, we call it classic rock now, but it's great rock, you know what I mean? Everything, you still can't get away from Hendrix and The Who and the Beatles, and why would you? Why would you want to? It's all great stuff.
Well, you're one of the guys keeping that tradition alive, mate.
Exactly.
Just on the subject of Bob, before we leave that, it's about that same time that he was ghosting quite a bit for Ace Frehley in Kiss, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, Bob met those guys. He actually auditioned the same day as Ace, and of course history knows he didn't get the job, but my brother had a reputation in New York as one of the up-and-coming guitar players, and he ran into Kiss in the studio, and the next thing you know, he struck up a friendship, because they already now were famous, and successful. So then Bob kind of wound up on that short list of people to call that they, of course, wouldn't credit on the record, but, you know, what they call ghost guitar work. And Bob did some key tracks on the studio part of Live 2 and another record called Killers, and then he wound up playing on Paul's solo record. So he had an interesting Kiss connection, and it only took a few years after that I started to get known in New York City, and Paul Stanley was asking about me, and the next thing I know, in '84, I go in and wind up helping them out for the Animalize record, and then, you know, he says, "Don't cut your hair," and I'm going, "Why do you say that? They have a new guitarist." But I didn't know that the new guitar player was sick, and next thing I know, I'm going to Europe, and I had a 12-year run. You know, it was pretty cool.
Well, was there any truth in I read somewhere that Paul was a bit hesitant of having you in the band because you had a beard. Is that correct?
No, I mean, the word that was out was Gene used to complain about my mustache, is what it was. What's ironic is that, yeah, there was a period in the 80s that I had my mustache in the beginning, and I actually shaved it off before. I don't think I even had it when I did that session, but I know if Gene saw a picture of me in the year prior, he would have seen the, as he'd call it, the fruit salesman mustache, okay? So, because with my nose and being a New York, I'm actually Jewish, but I could look Italian, you know what I mean? So you look like you're someone from the Lower East Side who sells fruit, you know. It's Gene could be a little bit stereotypical with how he wants to describe people. So if they were ever hesitant, they know it's not hard to say, hey, you know, do this and you'll look cool, you know what I mean? But I was always a team player, so I wasn't really very high maintenance at all to fit into the band.
Great story. For me, mate, Revenge was an album that the guitar work, your guitar work, and the guitar tones you had just seemed to take a leap forward. Is that a reasonable sort of observation?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Revenge was a really important album, definitely the definitive non-makeup album, and arguably still one of the best Kiss albums, period, makeup or no makeup era, you know. We had Bob Ezrin, who has done such magic before with the band and worked with, you know, Pink Floyd and Peter Gabriel and Alice Cooper. The guy's really, really brilliant, and it was wonderful. We all had the common goal that we'd all, like, you know, just eat each other up until we made a great record. And I walked out of the end of those sessions and mixes just feeling like this was an amazing record, and the fans agree. So I was very, very happy we did that record and spent so much time on it.
How was it at the time when I know I've seen some footage and seen some stuff on how your guitar setup is and how you run all your different pedals and effects and stuff, but I'm guessing that would have been very different on stage with Kiss, that you didn't have all that stuff under your control.
Yeah, I tried to keep things really simple live, to be honest with you, and it wasn't that hard of a challenge. You know, I mean, all I really need is like a couple of sounds live, which is mostly a nice crunchy rhythm tone, and then a little bit more boost for the solo, and then maybe a clean sound, you know. And I used to have, since I didn't want to have any pedal board on stage, because the stage is just a free-for-all with Gene and Paul commanding, you know, running around, and I had to move around too, you know. So I wound up to get a wah-wah sound. I had a little, you know, they call the tone pot. They call it a pot. You know, there was something that you could replace it with this thing that you pull it out, and then suddenly it becomes like a wah-wah tone. You know, so I used to use that because I definitely wanted that little bit of wah boost tone. And then my guitar tech would just turn up the gain when it was solo time, or switch it to the cleaner sound if we did the beginning of God Gave Rock and Roll or something like that. But I kept it really simple, and I'm really proud of that. I didn't have a problem. It wasn't a big challenge. I didn't need a fancy, incredibly expensive pedal board. And obviously in the studio, you know, I'd line up some really funky, fun pedals and get crazy sounds, you know. But live it is a different thing, and Kiss is a very, you know, live, energetic show, so I don't want to be just standing there in front of my pedals. So it all worked out great, you know.
And you were very, very close to Eric Carr, mate.
Yep.
What a great drummer he was. Sadly missed, buddy.
Yeah, that was really sad. I got to admit that, you know, I never really had anyone real close to me come down with an illness like that and then die within a year of being diagnosed, and that was really, it affected everybody very, very strongly in their own way, but, I try to remember Eric, for all the kind of funny things he did and, the fact that he cared about the fans so much and how talented he was, and I got involved with a couple of products, with his stuff that the family allowed me to work on, which was this, Rockology thing, which was all the leftover songs that we demoed up, and then there was even a DVD called Tale of the Fox. So I'm really proud that I got those things out.
Cool. And just the last one on the subject of Kiss, mate. My favourite Kiss CD is the unplugged one, the MTV one. I think it just shows, it takes away all the other peripheral stuff and just shows how good the tunes are. And your guitar playing on that also just stands out something fantastic.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, that was a real challenge for us because think about it, Kiss is always known as being, bombastic live, crunchy Marshall stacks and guitars, and here we are sitting there on stools playing Kiss songs, with an acoustic guitar, and MTV was very strict with us. They did not want anything to be electric. It had to be a real acoustic guitar, so it had to have holes in it, is what I mean, So, we made it work, though, and I was really proud of, Eric Singer and myself. I thought we really showed the world that wasn't really into that version of Kiss how good we were, and it was good exposure.
Totally agree. And is there any truth that it was you that actually suggested that Ace and Peter come in and join you with that show?
No, I mean, the truth is, with that one, it was just Eric Singer very innocently actually mentioned that since we were doing a Los Angeles convention, because this came from Kiss going out there on the road for like 20 or 21 conventions instead of, your typical Kiss fan expo. This was the official Kiss convention, where Kiss performed and met you and charge $100 and spend the night with Kiss, or a day with Kiss. And it was actually pretty damn successful. But when we did the LA one, Eric mentioned, hey, wouldn't it be cool if Peter Criss came down? And sure enough, Peter was in town. He thought it was really cool. The fans went crazy. MTV caught wind of that. And from then, they started negotiating with Gin and Paul, saying, like, hey, what if we do an MTV Unplugged, which is obviously would be a very cool thing, can you get Ace and Peter involved? So then, behind the scenes, things that I didn't really know about, and I'm kind of glad I didn't, they were busy negotiating how to do that. And part of how they were going to do that was actually Ace and Peter saying, sure, we'll do this, we'll make it successful, but now we're going to do a reunion tour. So you can imagine all the legal wrangling that was going on around that. Meanwhile, the current version of Kiss at the time in '95 was getting ready to go in the studio to do another studio record. You see what I mean? So it was a very weird time, and it was by the end of Carnival of Souls, by the time we were mixing the record, where Gene and Paul already did, that's when they finally had signed, contracts with Eric, with Peter and Ace to move forward with a reunion tour, and that's when they told Eric Singer and myself.
And you mentioned Eric Singer there, and your musical partnership with him still continues. You work together in Union a little bit, but he's back playing on your new CD as well, mate.
Yeah, I got him on BK3, and Eric and I tour as the Eric Singer Project, and we actually have a DVD out that came from a club in Sydney called the Marquee, which I don't think is there anymore, unfortunately.
No, it's not.
It was a real cool place. And we went to Europe in February this year and did 3 weeks on the road that were very successful. We played for some really nice crowds. We did gigs like in Prague and Switzerland and in Germany. And I have to say that there's a certain chemistry with Eric and I together. Of course, it's that Revenge Era Kiss. And we bring along John Corabi, who everyone loves. He's also on my new BK3 record. And Chuck Garrick, who's been the bass player forever now with Alice Cooper. He's been on bass and vocals, too. So we've done really, really well. I have to admit that it's always fun playing with Eric.
He is a fine drummer indeed. I've had the pleasure of seeing him on, I think, 3 occasions with different bands he's come out to Australia in. So,
yeah, he's been down there with Alice Cooper a few times, too, and of course with Kiss again. And he's busy touring the States now with Kiss for Sonic Boom. I'm sure they'll come sometime next year.
Looking forward to it. And I saw him with Brian May, which was fantastic.
Yeah, that's right. He's played with Brian, and Brian's such a gentleman and such a brilliant musician, so that's a good band for sure.
Well, that was wonderful. That show was in a tiny little club in Adelaide, so it was very surreal.
Yeah, absolutely.
if I just go totally left field for a minute, mate, you had a little stint with Grand Funk, and Grand Funk in America, I understand, are like an institution. They've been around forever. No one in Australia knows anything about them.
I know that they had certain success in Japan and in Europe. And, in fact, it was weird that you mentioned it, because last night I had a dream that, oh, by the way, in June we're going to, Switzerland. You know what I mean? I'm like, we are? It was a dream, though, okay? Because the band, I've been with them 9 years now. It's not exactly a little stint, okay? Believe it or not, we've been gigging together for 9 years. I've been the lead guitarist. We tour in that kind of fly in and out kind of thing, and we mostly play classic rock shows and casinos and the big county fairs and state fairs and things like that, which is pretty common for a classic rock band in America right now. Those are good gigs where you get a wide exposure and you're not living on a bus, traveling around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't realise it was an ongoing thing. That's great. And like I say, it's just one of those bands that Australia missed out on, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and that happens, I guess, in the same way that, in certain countries, it's amazing how legendary a certain band that doesn't even mean something in America can be, so it happens, it happens. And I wasn't around those years, obviously, and of course I know that, I'm hoping maybe Grand Funk could even do something in Europe, where we have had some offers, but I know there's never been anything about Australia. But either way, I mean, the Australian fans know me because of Kiss, of course, and I've just been real fortunate in the years that I haven't been with Kiss, that for 9 years now I've been able to perform with Grand Funk, and it's a great band.
And your Australian fans are going to be the first people in the world to hear the new CD. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, what's really wild, I'm still working out, like, I really need, and it's all going to be finalized, believe it or not, probably next week, but I'm probably going to have, like, an official release date for the whole world. But I'm going to have something special for the Australian fans in December, and I'm just thrilled I could actually go two times in 1 year. I was there in April to do some guitar clinics for that Allen's Music chain, who were really cool to me, and that was really great, because I skipped a few years. I've been waiting to come once I had, something new to show them, show my fans. I don't want to just come down there with nothing new in the sense of music, and I've worked really hard on this BK3 album. I'm really proud of it, and I did a great photo shoot. The packaging for the record's great, and I think the music is just going to really impress everybody.
Well, the guitar clinic thing you do, mate, you're so generous with your fans. It really gives your fans the opportunity to sort of connect with you and really see you in a way that they don't get to see many people at your level, which is really special. But it doesn't happen often enough.
Yeah, I mean, I was really flattered to be on that short list when Allen's was looking for. They had a couple of names international-wise, and there was an agent that knew I'm on his list when some people are looking for, artists. And when my name came in the mix that I was kind of available and I could do it, all the stores were really excited, and I realized, I've never done this in Australia. I've done it in the States, and I've done a few over in Europe, but it turned out to be really great. They were all sold out, and I had a really terrific time with the fans. I have to admit that was a really cool trip. Very, very cool.
I'm sure myself and the rest of your fans in Australia are looking forward to it again, indeed. So you mentioned Eric Singer's on the new CD, and Gene Simmons makes an appearance on it as well.
Yep.
And
Nick as well sings a song.
And his son as well. So it's Nick is his name, is that right?
Yeah, Nick Simmons. Yeah.
Is this the first time he's ever done any recording?
I know that when he started to do the singing for the track and everything for my record, he just started recording some things at Gene's house, actually. In other words, it's not like Gene said, "Here, go into the big studio and do what you want." I mean, nowadays you can record if you have a an engineer that's professional enough. You can record in your home. So he was doing some really interesting music. It was kind of like blues, but with a real kind of modern acid kind of edge to it, which was very unique. But obviously on my record, he's doing a track that's full-blown big rock and roll, and he sounds tremendous on it. I'm very excited. And I guess it will be the first time he's like officially on a real record. I'm not sure exactly what his music dreams are. I know he's been very active with some comic books that he's been drawing and creating, which is something that, his dad started in the business with. I'm not sure if everyone's aware of that, but Gene did his own comic book when, way before Kiss. So, but I'm really excited that this record not only features Gene on a killer song that's kind of revenge-era, but that his son Nick does a track that's as strong or even stronger than Gene's track. So that's very exciting for me.
Cool. Look forward to hearing that indeed.
Yeah.
And another name that I saw pop up on the new CD is Doug Feger from the old dude from the Knack.
Yeah, the Knack.
Fantastic.
They were a terrific band, and it was. I met him at I do these counselor work at the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, and he did one a few years back, and we hit it off. I was always a big Knack fan, and when I reached out to him, there was a nice power pop song, that I knew was not going to, fit me that well for vocals. I asked Doug to do it, and he did a terrific job. And what's funny is that the Knack, there's a band that, the Sharp from Australia, that nobody knows here, that I think are terrific. I know they're not around anymore. Are you familiar with them?
I'm familiar with them. The drummer, I went to school with the drummer.
Okay, there you go. I have like 2 or 3 of their CDs. Love them. Scratch My Back. That song's great.
Yeah.
A terrific band. And I remember telling Doug about them because I always felt like, this is cut from the same kind of vibe here, the Knack and the Sharp. But what a terrific band the Sharp is, And I'm not sure, I don't think Doug knew about them, but I sent him one of the songs, and he got a kick out of it. He thought it was cool.
Yeah, it's a shame they're not still going around. I know they went to the UK and did really well, but sort of all folded up then, which was a shame. They're a great band.
Yeah, that was. I still have that on my iPod. I love that band. That's cool stuff.
And speaking of local guys that you have an affinity with, one of Adelaide's most loved singers is the one and only Vince Contarino, and you're good mates with Vince.
Yeah, it was great. We got to do a tour together. And we have some thoughts about doing something in the future together where we might be able to do like a Kiss symphony type of thing, and I'm looking forward to trying to put that together. He's not going to be able to do the dates, these gigs that I'm doing, but I'm a big fan of Vince, and I've seen the DVD of the Zep Boys doing, the symphony thing, and they're terrific, and Vince is a classy guy. He's a great guy, great singer too.
Yeah, well, the stuff they did with the symphony orchestra was fantastic indeed.
Yeah, and we're really. I think when I'm there this time in December, if we can, take some meetings while I'm rehearsing and stuff to talk about, when I can do that symphony thing, that would be great.
That would be great. We'll look forward to that one indeed.
Sure.
All right, Bruce. Thank you so much for giving me some of your time. It's been an absolute ball to have a chat to you.
Not a problem. Hopefully, I'll see you there down under, and I'll let Paul Drennan know we had our chat, and I appreciate your time, okay?
Thank you, mate. And yes, I'll definitely be there. Looking forward to it.
Great.
Can